Welcome to the IVF Abroad podcast for people who are struggling with infertility and trying to conceive, and who are facing more obstacles than options when it comes to having fertility testing or treatment in their home countries. Alongside other experts, I will share, educate and empower you on your journey and help you to learn more about going abroad for advanced fertility testing and treatments like IVF and egg donation. I'm Emma Haslam, your host, now mum of one, and the go-to expert in fertility treatment abroad. Since the birth of our son in 2018, I have made it my mission to make fertility treatment more informed, transparent, accessible, supported and affordable for more people. And I help people just like you to become unstuck, to find a best fit clinic that truly meets their needs, and to have fertility treatment on their terms and timescales so they can achieve their dreams of growing their families. And I'm here now to help you too. Be sure to check out the free resources in the show notes for more help after listening to today's episode. Hello, it's Emma here, back for another episode of the podcast. So welcome. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here with me. I never take it for granted. I think it's amazing that I can record this and know that you might be listening to this on your way to work, getting ready in the morning, going out for a walk with your dog. And I just love that I can be here with you in this space, having a natter and sharing what I know in the hope that it helps people. Today's episode is all about the things in the fertility industry that really grind my gears. What do I mean by that? Well, there are lots of things in the fertility industry that I just do not agree with. And I want to talk about this because it matters. And it matters that you're aware of them too, so that you're able to make informed decisions on your journey, because you matter. And I see the impact of these things every single day. So let's talk about them. Let me tell you what I don't agree with. So first up, I just want to say, this isn't criticism for the sake of it. It's because I see the impact of this, and these things happen too often, and it's not right, in my opinion. And having been where you might be right now, going through, struggling to conceive, fertility treatment, etc., is incredibly emotional, stressful, often overwhelming. And I wish that I'd have had somebody to be able to point these things out to me. So here we are. Now, I want to start by saying that there are some incredible clinics, doctors, professionals out there that are full of integrity and about doing the right thing and about transparency and all the things that are so important to me. This is not about saying that the whole system is broken, but there are definitely patterns. There are things that happen that are almost normalized, that are not serving you. And sometimes you might not even think to necessarily question because it just isn't in your orbit, because you haven't necessarily thought about these things before. But I see them all the time, as I said. And so I want to go through them one by one and just talk through why these things I think are so important and why I dislike them so much. So one of the biggest things I don't agree with is just how much emphasis is placed by clinics on success rates. They're often the first thing that people are told to go and look at, and that people perhaps want to look at as well, because maybe they don't understand, like I didn't back then, the nuances when it comes to things like success rates. And success rates are used very heavily in marketing, but they just don't tell the full story. They are so influenced by so many things. For example, who the clinic accepts and doesn't accept. If there's a clinic that specialises in certain groups of people, so you may have a clinic that works with, let's say, for example, people of advanced maternal age, people with unexplained infertility, people who have had multiple failed cycles elsewhere, who may be really, really good in those areas. But because they're working with people who are more challenging cases, they will, perhaps next to another clinic who only accepts certain people in certain circumstances, may appear to be less successful on paper, even though actually they're probably having greater success. Well, not probably, they will be having greater success with that group of people. Also, how results are reported, it varies wildly. As soon as you start to see this and you start to have a look, some don't provide any detail, some provide some detail, some provide lots of detail, but very quickly you begin to realise you're not comparing apples and apples. How the results reported is wildly different. And the same with what is being measured. And how things work in different countries is also different as well. So you can't really compare country to country. Plus, of course, the people involved are different. There are things as well like, was PGTA testing done? So that's the testing of embryos to see if embryos are genetically normal or abnormal before transferring. Is this based on one cycle? Is it a fresh transfer? Is it a frozen transfer? Is this cumulative totals? What ages of people are we talking about here? What extra laboratory techniques have been included? How many cycles of fertility treatment is this based on? You know, there are so many things that clinics can do to manipulate the presentation of those results so that they appear in their favour. And the difficulty there is if you're then looking at that and then comparing it against another clinic and going on success rates, you're going to think that Clinic A, might be better than Clinic B, when actually those success rates are not personalised to you and to your situation. And really, you cannot accurately compare one against the other. And I've pointed this out. When you go and have a look at clinics' websites, you will see exactly what I mean, and how confusing and misleading it can just be. And I encourage you to only consider success rates as one part of the puzzle. I've said this before. We talked about it in a recent episode. You know, it's one part of a puzzle. It's about finding a clinic that's got success in the area that you need it in and working out what your chance of success is at that clinic. But just having it in your awareness that you can't really compare. And, you know, there can be some dazzling numbers, but actually, are they correct? What are they based on? So that, you know, you can accurately compare. And I don't believe that you can accurately compare because they're all measured so differently and presented so differently. So, you know, take them with a pinch of salt. Probably my biggest bugbear, which you'll have heard me talk about before, is commission-based recommendations for clinics. This is where clinics are paying people to be recommended or referred. I have had this week alone 3 clinics contact me offering to pay me substantial amounts of money to make referrals to them or to make recommendations on my podcast about them and things like that. Now, if you've been here a while, you'll know that I will never do that because it's inherently something I just do not believe in, because it creates a massive conflict of interest. And ultimately, I believe that it's really important when it comes to recommending clinics that it is done based on people's true needs, their personalities and their budgets, not based on which clinic is offering me or another professional loads of money. But people do this and they do it all the time. And I could earn a lot more money if I worked in that way. But ultimately, would I have wanted somebody to help me in that way? No. And so I won't do that because integrity is really important. And it's also so key that you get the right clinic for your needs. And that way, it means that any recommendations I make for a clinic are just because I think that they are a good match for my clients, rather than somebody paying me money. And it happens all the time. Where I find it even more difficult is when people are not transparent about receiving commission. if they're receiving commission, it should be clear that you are an affiliate. And there are times when it's appropriate for people to be an affiliate for something if they're recommending something all the time because they're using it anyway. But when it comes to something like recommending a clinic, this is so personal and different for different people. And I just don't think that people even realise that this is happening behind the scenes. Partly, as I said, because the people who are taking the commission or creating free online searching tools and clinic match tools and things like this aren't declaring it, which is just wrong. Like, if you're going to take the commission from fertility clinics, be upfront about it, because people then think they're getting impartial recommendations or free advice, free matching, and they're not, because these people are being paid by fertility clinics. And so whose side do you think they're on? They're not on your side. They're on the side of the fertility clinics. And that is such an important difference for you to understand when you are looking at people who are making recommendations for something like clinics. Are they taking commission? And if it's not clear, maybe it's about asking those questions so that you understand, so that you can make an informed decision about whether or not you think that person is right for you. And, is it something you've had to ask to get the answer, or are they being transparent about it on things like their websites or these free clinic matching tools? Because for something as important as finding a fertility clinic for your fertility treatment, for your future, for you to try and grow your family, I just do not think that is good enough. And I think people deserve transparency, not to be hoodwinked into something that they think, it's one thing and actually it's another. The other thing that I don't agree with is one-size-fits-all treatment. I see that this approach still exists in many places. Clinics in the UK, clinics abroad, the NHS, certainly. And while I'm not here to bash the NHS, I have worked with a lot of people who have had fertility treatment privately and through public sector treatment, say, for example, here in the UK. And it's very one-size-fits-all in lots of cases. People given very similar protocols without deeper investigation into why things aren't working. People not being able to even get to the point of having any tests done or get to the point of having any treatment. I see so many people being labelled with unexplained infertility or you need to go away and lose weight with no evidence. And people just left stuck in limbo with no support. And that is so wrong. It's wasting people's time. It's giving people false hope. And it's giving people the wrong information. So people think, oh, it's unexplained, we'll keep trying, or there's no reason, so let's keep going, or it's my weight, so I must lose weight. When actually, honestly, in my experience, I've never had a client who's come to me and said that, have it then be about their weight. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And so it's wasting people's time and it's making people feel like shit. And it's not okay. And then that can also lead to people just taking longer to get to the point of where they need to be. And it can end up stealing people's time, their precious time, lead them to repeating cycles without answers, wasting money, staying stuck in limbo, you name it. Like, I lost a lot of weight to be eligible for fertility treatment on the NHS. My fertility issues were nothing to do with my weight. My husband's fertility issues were nothing to do with his weight. And it just wasted our time and made us feel bad when actually we could have had treatment much sooner at a different clinic that had a higher BMI limit and that had the experience and support in place to be able to get us to the end result and not waste time in losing weight that I didn't need to lose for treatment. And too many people are just told from some very basic results often, very basic testing, that there's nothing wrong when there's something absolutely going on. And it's just wasting people's time. Kind of links into my next point, really, which is about that lack of real guidance for people. People are just left to have to research everything themselves and compare clinics and make decisions under pressure. There's so much information out there Google, forums, a friend on social media, free clinic matching tools, AI. But having loads of information is not the same as being able to come up with a plan that's right for you and getting clarity. And actually, sometimes too much information just leaves us overwhelmed, second guessing, stuck, or people moving forward without confidence in their decisions. And also, there's so much information out there that is just utter rubbish or is biased or is nonsense. It makes it really hard for people to be able to work out what to do. So much conflicts, and it leaves people without a clear plan. And, all of these things matter because it's not just about getting something potentially, slightly wrong that doesn't matter. This is important stuff, isn't it? This is about your time, your money, your emotions, your chances at growing your family, and the emotional toll that comes with that as well. Fertility treatment is too important. It's too personal to be approached in a way that leaves people feeling confused or unsupported. And I think, any industries that take advantage of people, and as I said, it's not all people. There are people doing amazing work out there. There are some incredible clinics, but you need to be aware of these things because there are people that will take advantage that are just about making money, and you deserve better than that, but you need to know how to navigate your options properly, don't you? And thinking about some of these things that you might not have thought about before so that you can have a think about what actually matters most to you and your situation. And then that's what will make the difference. Because I think that you deserve better than just being left to try and figure this out on your own. And I think these things need calling out. I spoke recently on a podcast about influencers on Instagram who are receiving free testing and or treatment from clinics abroad and who are then going on national television, talking about going abroad. The stuff that's coming out of their mouth is absolute nonsense. And then they're on social media. They're not declaring that either it's not an ad and that they paid in full for their testing, treatment, etc. Or they're just not declaring that they indeed have been paid. It's an advert. And, these people have got huge accounts, much more influence than somebody like myself. Huge accounts where people are hanging on to their every word and they're believing them because, we trust people. We want to trust people, don't we? And it's wrong. If they want to take the free treatment and testing, fair play to them, but they need to be transparent. They need to declare this. And it happens, honestly, it happens all of the time. And even this week, I've had a brand reach out to me about working with me. And when I've been away to do my due diligence before I think about working with anybody, I don't like what they stand for. And although working with them would bring me income, I can't do it because I can't say to you guys, consider working with these guys when I know that they're not in integrity. And it's important, but not everybody is bothered about things like that. And perhaps it's because I've been where you are. I like to think it's because I'm an honest person, but, I always try and think about you guys and, I am one of you. And, there's just so much stuff going on in this space that, some of this stuff needs calling out. So I hope that this has given you a slightly different perspective and then maybe just help you to think about things and maybe in a different way where you can ask more questions, where you can look at things slightly differently. But for now, until next week,
if you are facing more obstacles than options and want to learn more about how to overcome your fertility testing and treatment challenges in your home country so that you too can fast track to growing your family and on your terms, then check out my free training at yourivfabroad.co.uk/free masterclass. Don't forget to rate and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and so that I can reach and help more people. Thanks for listening.